Alright, so we're checking out the Mobula8 from Happymodel. This is their first 2-inch whoop, and this is a 1 to 2S whoop. Mainly fluid on 2S. I'll explain the batteries in a little bit here, but obviously this being their first 2-inch whoop, we got a 2-inch frame here, and similarly to the way Beta FPV does their Meteor 85 series, is they have this sort of fixed battery tray here. So if you don't like that, I think, I'm not sure if there's much of an option there. Maybe you can cut these off here and then wrap a battery strap around this. Possibly, or the battery will probably hang a little bit lower. But mainly, yeah, it's a 2-inch whoop here. You're going to want to fly this on 2S for the best performance. Yeah, so 1103, 11,000 kV, 2-inch tri-bladed gem fan props, and this motor has a 3-hole pattern mount here with the smaller screws. I think these are M1.8s. The flight controller, again with the USB-C coming out of the bottom. So this is the X12, which has the built-in open VTX 400 milliwatt video transmitter, analog of course. This is the analog system. So I think with the X12, I had a little confusion on the previous videos on the various versions of the X12. There's the X12, which has the video transmitters for the analog versions. That one has all of those. I think I'll have SPI receivers. So this one here is an Express LRS SPI receiver, and then there's a FreeSky and a FlySky version, also with SPI receivers. That's because I guess that receiver is smaller, doesn't take as many chips, and you can put a open VTX video transmitter on the same board. And then there's the X12 Lite for the digital versions of their whoops, Walksnail and HD0. Of course, you don't need the onboard video transmitter. And I believe those are the ones that come with the serial receivers, so they use like the serial Express LRS and FreeSky and FlySky. So for this one here, for the analog, it comes in 3 receiver versions. They're all SPI. This one comes with Betaflight 431, so it's Express LRS version 2 on this one here. So if you want version 3, you're going to have to upgrade this to Betaflight 4.4. If you're wondering how to do that, you'll have to contact Happymodel. They'll probably have some sort of a tutorial on their product page on how to do that, but currently it's only supported on 4.3.1. So since everything is on that one board, you have your flight controller, your receiver, your video transmitter. See, there's the antenna for the Express LRS receiver. Everything's on a single board, flight controller and all your ESCs, and you get your USB connector there on the bottom. And then the camera is a Caddx ANT camera. It does have the little plug for changing your camera settings, and you do get that little joystick board for that, as well as a spare canopy, and get some spare props and some spare screws and a screwdriver and some stickers. And then this canopy here comes with this extra 3D printed part here, and I think that's just to give the camera a little bit extra protection. So you can see there, in case of a crash, instead of modifying the canopy, they decided it's all 3D part for protecting the camera. There's no spare of this one, at least not in my box. Because it has a plastic tray here, it only fits certain batteries, and I use these, this GMD 2S 450 and 520, and they're roughly the same size. And you do have to, basically it's held in by these this part here, and then against the frame over here and the duct. So you have to kind of stick it in kind of like this, and you see it comes in at an angle, and you have to sort of push that down and then slide it through. It's a pretty snug fit. I didn't have a battery ejection. You can see the battery is held in place by this piece of plastic, and then this over here on the duct. I think if you use a battery that's a little bit too big and it's pressing up on the prop guard over here, and it deforms the shape of the prop guard. I've heard some of the testers had some issues with that, where they had flyaways, and it's because there's too much tension on the frame, and it's putting pressure on the flight controller, so that a lot of vibrations are getting into the flight controller, in which case when you do any kind of throttling up, you get a lot of vibrations, and then if it's really bad, you get a flyaway. Now, for these batteries that I use, I did not have any of those kind of problems, no vibrations or oscillations. The tune on here was good. very solid tune overall. I mainly flew it on the 2S450. That's the one I recommend. I'll show you the weights here in a second. The 520 is a little bit heavier. It's basically the same dimensions for the tray this way. It's just a little bit longer. So you get a little bit more capacity, and that gives you, so flying fairly aggressively, as you see here in the flight footage, roughly 3.5 minutes on the 450, and then you're going to get roughly 4 minutes on the 520. But I don't think it's a little bit extra. It does cut into the performance a little bit, so I would stick with the 450. I think 3.5 minutes is plenty for flying fairly aggressively. Okay, so here's how much it weighs. Just the whoop by itself, no battery. It's 42.9 grams. So yeah, for a 2-inch setup, it's a very nice weight. And then with the 2S450, we're coming in at 71.1 grams. And if you fly with the 2S520, we're coming in at 72.6 grams. Now this board does support 1S as well. I used a 1S 600 milliamp hour GMB with an XT60 connector, and basically it looks like the 450s except just one cell instead of two. And so I put a piece of foam in here to hold the battery in place. It does fly, but it's pretty slow. It's a lot quieter. So mainly if you want to use this for some indoor flight, maybe some larger indoor flying areas, could do that. It's just not, you're not going to be able to do the acro tricks. Now, on the 2S setup on the 450, you're seeing in the flight footage here, power loops, flips and flops, and split S's, all that good stuff. Definitely can do that, acro tricks and all that good stuff with the Mobula 8. And yeah, basically, as I've been saying, 2S is just superior to 1S. I think everyone kind of knows that already. If you don't, I'll reiterate that again. If you're looking for acro freestyle performance on these smaller micros, you got to go with 2S. You can do a little bit of that stuff on 1S. It's just a lot harder to do. You just need a lot of skill to, and especially on the throttle, on the upper ends of the throttle, to be able to manage the flight performance at 1S versus 2S, which is much easier to do on these type of whoops. And of course, this being 2 inches and a much bigger 1103 motor, all that stuff helps. So if you're looking for a freestyle acro whoop, something like this is definitely going to be something you're going to want to check out. Put links down in the video description if you want to check out this one, as well as the batteries. That'll do it for this one. Talk to you guys in the next video.